Greetings, dear viewer, and welcome to Purposes Crossed, where I hope that people who are called by Jesus for different purposes cross paths and exchange ideas. In this video, we continue with our series of reflections on the Sermon on the Mount. In the previous two videos of the series, we dealt with Jesus' words, "Be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect." We looked at two aspects of that saying. On the one hand, the perfection Jesus speaks of is a perfection that leads to wholeness in all of our lives, especially in our relationships. On the other hand, the perfection he speaks of distinguishes us from those who are not his disciples. In the whole section that precedes chapter 6, Jesus deals with relationships, not individual piety. And he has just finished instructing us about relationships in the kingdom. These are extremely important. However, because of their public nature, we can twist them. We can use people to parade ourselves as spiritually superior. We can act in order to receive praise from other people. Our desire to be seen as doing good is so strong that we can subvert the very disciplines that are designed to deepen our relationship with God. So Jesus now moves to other issues, the issues of motive, in relation to a few key Jewish spiritual disciplines. The first discipline Jesus addresses is almsgiving. We should note that Jesus does not say if you give alms, but when you give alms. In other words, he assumes his disciples will give alms. After all, if God is concerned about those in need, then he is concerned about those who are so destitute that they rely on alms. So Jesus is endorsing the practice while asking us to evaluate our motives. He tells us not to sound a trumpet, as the hypocrites do. We are not to advertise our almsgiving in order to make people think that we are some sort of super disciples. We are to give alms without fanfare and even without recognition. But what does it mean to be a hypocrite? A hypocrite is a person who, in order to gain the approval of people, calls attention to his or her good actions. The things a hypocrite does and advertises are most likely good things, for people normally approve of good things rather than bad. However, the motivation for a hypocrite is the applause of others rather than benefiting someone else. A hypocrite is someone who is not critical enough about his or her own actions and intentions, always thinking that their motives are pure and their actions without any taint. Somehow, Jesus says, to trumpet our good deeds is to have tainted motives. And it is here that Jesus asks us to check ourselves. We ought to do good deeds as an outworking of our imitation of God, who blesses everyone without thought of reward. We breathe the air that God has generously given us without a thought of thankfulness. We drink the water he provides for us without an expression of gratitude, but he keeps on giving. Hence, to seek commendation from others for the good things that we do is to deviate from imitating God. However, to give alms, for instance, anonymously, is to bless as God blesses, incognito, silently, without recognition. Jesus goes on to say that no deed is actually ever incognito. God has his eye on us. He notices what we do and how we go about doing it. And he rewards those who bless as he blesses. Such people receive commendation from God because they have chosen not to elicit approval from humans. But here we must again check ourselves. It is easy to think that if we are quiet about almsgiving, God will loudly proclaim to the entire world how great we are. To think that way is to deceive ourselves. Indeed, that is merely seeking human approval in a more devious way. We need to remember, especially here when we try to imitate God, that God also blesses incognito. For when God rewards us, we dare not think of the reward being any less veiled than our imitation of him.